All right, it is 6:30 on the dot. Thank you. You can leave them not, Jill, when you're ready. Okay. We're good. All right, 6:30 on the dot. I'll call the regular board meeting of the East Otero School Board into session. Roll call, please.
Mrs. A. Ayala,
Present.
Mrs. F. Ayala, Mrs. Hines. Here. Mr. Coleman.
Here.
Mrs. Leba.
All right, pledge of allegiance.
We pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item C. Who's gonna tell me about our ELA qualifier? Jared, Richie?
Actually, we'll let Mrs. Craigmore. You did, I heard.
So Isabel Ortiz has made it to National FBLA in Anaheim, California this summer for organizational leadership. So she will test and we will fly out June 28th and come back July 2nd.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Moving on, item D, audience portion. And it looks like we have two people who have filled it out prior to the meeting. Just as a friendly reminder, there is a 5-minute rule for speaking. All right, Mrs. Chair.
I'm Carolina Traver and I'm the instructional coach here at this school, at the intermediate school. I just wanted to publicly thank our interim committee, Heather and Richie and Jared, for stepping up. And I know you guys have gotten a lot of extra responsibilities lately, which comes with lots of stress and everything. So I just wanted to publicly thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Mrs. Remick.
You want to come up there?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
So thank you for taking the time to hear me. I know that it's not something that the school district can do, and I'm sure Richie's gonna talk about this earlier, but I do want to share a concern that happened this weekend to my son at the high school area, with the house that is near the Tiger Stadium. And so, a year ago, my son was placed in the shed at track practice for a situation where a gentleman from that White House came over and attacked the coach. The coach was very responsible, put the kids into the shed, locked down, kids called 911. He was attacked physically and handled it like a champ. And I recently found out the charges were dropped. Nothing was done about it. The DA chose to drop the charges. I investigated that because on Saturday night, my son was driving on 22nd Street to drop off a friend. He had friends in the car. They had another vehicle with them, rocks were thrown at them, not sure who it was, they were hiding in the ditch. And he has a dent in his car with the trunk of the car missing. As he came back up the hill to take his other friends home, there was a guy standing in the middle of the road with a bat from that house, a metal bat, and was fully ready to swing at my son. There was a car in front of him that was slow, so my son couldn't pass, couldn't do anything. He did swerve into the guy, and the guy lost his balance, but still managed to swing one-handed and broke the driver's window and hit the back connected with my son's face. So we were, I was contacted by him. He told me that if he hadn't have swerved, he wouldn't be talking to me on the phone. That house has been a lot of trouble for my family and for friends. I know when my husband was track coach, he sat down with my son and they went through everything and created a list of what they had, an itemized list, what they needed. And later they were broken into, and it's a good thing they had that list to be able to get it replaced for insurance. My concern is student safety. it was random, it was not directed at my son personally. It is right near the school. That night, police took the statement, but we're not able to do anything because we were told the road is police, the house is county. So police, sheriffs came, they attempted to enter the house, they knocked, nobody came, so they just left. And I ended up in the ER with my son having CAT scans because the face injury caused numbness and swelling. They did CAT scans on his head and his neck as well. Our kids are at safety, is a safety concern. And so I have made a decision personally that I'm gonna go to every city entity and every county entity and let them know that my family is not gonna let this case be dropped, that we are gonna be very involved in this. And if things aren't done through the city or the county, then we will be going higher up. And so I just want everyone to know that, and that I'm very concerned for our kids and having a school right there with nothing being done with the house. So just making it public knowledge, so when people hear about it, you're aware that I'm not going behind anybody's back. I'm just doing what I have to do as a mom. So thank you for your time.
Sorry that happened.
Thank you.
Do we have any other, Jill?
That was all.
All right, item E. Approval of the agenda. Any recommendations, gentlemen?
The agenda as presented.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mrs. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. Hines,
Aye.
Mr. Coleman.
Aye.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda.
Recommendation to personnel is to do the agenda as presented.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I just have one quick question.
Wait, you gotta second it
Oh, sorry.
and then you can talk, right?
Sorry, second. Okay.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Mr. Coleman's comments?
I don't know, is that a lot of out of district kids? It seemed like a lot.
It's about
Is that,
what we average every year.
is it? Okay. Okay, that's it.
Any other questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mrs. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. Hines.
Aye.
Mr. Coleman.
Aye.
All right, item 3, minutes. Make a motion to approve minutes.
Second.
Good job, guys. I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the April 28th, 2025 board meeting. Any questions, comments, or corrections? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mrs. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. Hines.
Aye.
Mr. Coleman.
Aye.
All right, item 4, presentations. We have Tammy here, come on up.
Good evening. It's been 2 years since I spoke with you and your board has changed just a little bit since I was here. So just a quick reminder, Tammy Ragnauer, and I'm a part of the Otero County Preservation Board. 2 years ago, we wrote for a grant, 3 years ago, we wrote for a grant to do a history book for Otero County. We received the grant and 2 years ago we started, and we have the books. And they are ready to go into the classrooms all of 2025. So here, you guys can look through them. If you'll remember, they were a consumable workbook for 3rd grade. And in the process of doing that, we also said, we need a teacher's edition to go with these books. And so, this was the teacher's edition to go with the book. Goodness. The book could be a standalone. It's, written so that it's one and a half pages of a story from Otero County. Could be about a place, could be about the person, it could be about, an event in the area. And then there's a short activity that goes with it. When we decided to do the book, and the teacher's edition, I said, we needed more. And so the teachers, or the manual, you can just take a quick look. So it starts out, and we followed the Colorado Education's site for writing the lesson plans. And so you have your essential question, you have your supporting question, you have all your resources. So the teacher does not have to go anywhere to find anything. It is in the book. And at the back of the book, we also included a jump drive, so everything is electronic. So they have it in hard copy and they have it electronically. There's background knowledge for the teacher, there's background knowledge for the student. And then the glossary with all the terms that they would need to know for that book, strategies for instruction, differentiation for lessons for students that varying levels. There's discussion questions, assessments, and then Colorado State standards that lesson is tied to for third grade, and then all the sources that we used for that. For La Junta, so this is Otero County, but for you guys specifically, page 23 is the Wickham House. And that's a cool one. It sits at Otero County for the Otero Museum. And we talk about what it is to be historical. So these kids learn not only it's a place, but the activity. Should it be historical? Is it, based on the National Park Service? Is it does it meet the criteria for a historical location? And they walk through that. We've spent a ton of time looking for all the historical photos that go with that. And those are included in that teacher's resource book on page 49. The Scambato grocery store is included. The Rorick House is also an interesting one that we included. This school, Junta Intermediate, is included, and that is on page 69. And it goes back and talks about the history of the school, when it was built, the state of the art. There were roughly 2,000 people that attended the opening that night of the school when it was the high school. And the lesson plan that goes with that is we brought in all the schools, historical schools of Otero County or of La Junta. And they talk about why there aren't as many schools today and the process that this building has gone through and changed and what buildings are present or not present. We included the Kashari Kiva, and interesting enough, the lesson plan that goes with that is actually around the Air Force base that was north of La Junta. And the reason we do that is because all of the logs in the roof of that were the power poles or the telephone poles that supported that site out there. And then we finished up with La Junta livestock, and people might think, well, that's an odd place to finish with La Junta, but it's not, because we also include Mary's farm stand. We want people to know the background that they come from and the importance of ag in this area. When you look at the title, Windows and Mirrors, we wanted to make sure that kids could see themselves in this book. Whether it's when we talk about San Jose, which is Higbee Valley and the contributions of the Hispanics. And we go far deeper than let's talk about the food, which is not a bad thing. But we want kids to understand that there are huge contributions that the Hispanic population has brought to Otero County and Colorado. Most people don't realize your state constitution was written by a Hispanic man, And you wrote it in 3 languages. It's written in Hispanic, it's written in German, and it's written in English. We picked out key people in Otero County that we felt they needed to know about, whether they were business people or political people. We wanted them to understand that. We also bring in the Japanese with Rocky Ford Cemetery, and we picked out 5 Japanese people to tell their story about them coming to the United States or being a part of the Arkansas Valley during World War II and what it was like. Bill Takeda, interesting, his dad and uncle come to the United States 9 years old and 12 years old on a ship from Japan by themselves, no parents. And they're coming to Rocky Ford, Colorado. So the kids can read those primary sources of first-hand documents from them. We also do the dry, which is one of 3 individual Black settlements in the United States following the Civil War, Nicodemus, Kansas. The dry south of Manzanola and Deerfield, Colorado are the only 3 all Black communities. We talk about archaeology and careers in that area around the dry. And then we included Lahana City Park, and as you see, there's Vince Ford is in there, and we tied Shiraw, Rocky Ford, Swink, Fowler, and Manzanola into that book. So they are ready, and I know that this building has, I believe, 5 third grade classrooms. The books are free. We had enough money to print these for 3 years. So they will go into the classrooms and the teachers can use them or not. Tiger Trade, I'm not sure if you guys have third grade out there. Okay. Just checking. And we're super excited. The covers were all designed by students, and it's just been a really cool process to get to know the area better, and hopefully our kids will find that there are some really cool things right in their backyard. The fish that we start the book with, there are only 3 of those known in the world. 1 in Otero County, 1 in Japan, and 1 in England. And we have it right here in Otero County that they can go visit if they want to. So I just wanted to give you an update on that and show you what we've got. And I'll be visiting with Claudia Apodaca and get those to the teachers now so that they can plan over this summer if they want to use this book in their classroom for next year. Any questions? I know it's a super fast rendition of what's going on.
Did you print off any extras?
So for the grant, for the students, but we are going to, with our own funding, we'll go back and we'll print hard copies for other people that want to purchase them, and we'll be looking at that somewhere around Christmas of 2025.
This looks like a lot of work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
These are really cool. Yeah.
They're very, very cool, very cool.
Very cool.
I didn't grow up here, so a lot of the stuff in here, I'm like, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool to have something that has all the history.
And there's a lot of, we left out, I mean, it was hard to just pare it down. Lots of cool sites.
Good stuff.
And the list of people to thank, you know, from Higby to Shiraw to Fowler is, you know, a page long, because we were able to sit down in people's kitchens and discuss their family history. Shiraw was the toughest. They burned so many times. There's not a lot of buildings left there, but they have a lot of history that surrounds that area.
I'm on the board for the Otero Museum, so just make sure we get one or we assign one. These things are very cool.
And we definitely, so the library has a copy. They will be going out to homeschool also. They'll be made available to them and also to Pioneer Christian. So anybody should have access to them. All right, I'm gonna collect them, sorry.
Well,
I hope that this learning really cool topics of discussion at some time.
How will you be letting people know when they are available to purchase?
So the county has a website. And we'll definitely get them out and maybe Adrian can help us out on that too. So,
I'll look for it on Seco News.
yes.
Thank you for the plug.
Always, Brandon, always.
Yeah, Tammy, I'll send you the link to this, so you have another meeting.
All right. Mr. McNerney and Mrs. Fox will then.
And this is how.
And Mrs. Springhorn. They didn't include your name, I apologize. I just found out. There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so the first, first of all, thanks for having us. We were looking at a lot of our data, and a lot of you know that we have a lot of kids going online. There's a lot of different online schools popping up all over the place. So we wanted to share the data with you real quick. At the top, we have, just like our credit recovery numbers, our CDLS class numbers, our top, which is our Tiger Online already classes, Otero online classes, Otero on campus, where students go over to Otero just for those, and then concurrent where we teach those college classes, but on our campus, and then how many hybrid students there are. So that all those numbers there are the students within those groups. And then for TTA, we broke it down a little bit differently. So what we wanted to do is kind of share the numbers with each building. So when we're talking about loss, we wanted to look at how many kids did we lose through the year so far. And if you look at our building alone, we've had 106 students leave our campus. We have 21 that we lost to another public school. So they moved, those typically have moved to a different town, Denver, Springs, whatever, different states. And then we've lost 52 to online platforms. So Los Angeles Online, Goal Academy, those type of things. So that's where that number comes in. And then 3, which was went back to their home country, and then we've had 22 that have transferred to TTA. So then when we go down and we look at TTA's numbers, they've had 36 so far that have left the district, 7 to another public school, 6 that transferred back to our building. And then we've had 23 that have enrolled in an online program outside of us. So when we add those together, we've lost 75 students to online schooling. So what we would like to do is open a conversation on possibly having our own online campus here with JUNTA. We do already have Tigers Online. It's already approved by the state. It's already up and running. Campus McNerney used to run that years ago before we had Tiger Trades Academy. So that program is already there. It is available to use. So it's not anything with the state wise that we would have to go in and revamp or post to them. It's something that's already there. So what we're asking is to really think about those 75 kids that are ours, that are now online on Los Angeles, Goal Academy, or Strabo, whoever else, really taking a look at that 75 and what can we do to keep our kids here with us. A lot of them, because we did not have that option of strictly online, that's where they wanted to maybe work, do something different. It was outside of the realm of what we had to offer, even with TTA doing a hybrid online. So we wanted to share those numbers with you. Any questions on that?
So the Tiger Online, that's not operational right now?
It is operational. It is operational, yes, and it is cleared with the state.
But we're not using it.
We are not utilizing it as an online,
Oh,
like a fully online.
What are we talking about?
So for like
High
kids
school?
take German. So like we still use Tiger Online for like kids who want to take German or something like that. We still use it for that. So
It's
it,
more of a hybrid option.
it's, well, right now it is. We don't have any kids that are strictly online all the time. So in my building, there are a set of kids, we call them hybrid kids. They'll do their cores online, then they do their electives with on campus. And then I have my campus kids who do their full day on campus.
And so those four ones would go Tiger Online.
Yeah, well, we didn't decide that. We would think that those hybrid kids might move to online, they might stay hybrid because they want to do the electives. What we're really trying to do here is offer another avenue for our kids.
A fully online option for those kids who don't want to be hybrid, who
Correct.
don't want to be in any kind of classroom.
Correct.
This is an option for them.
So that top that you see there for the high school, that's the 6. So we have a lot of kids that are very interested in like computer science of some type. I have them in there. So it might just, this 6 might be 6 different kids in 6 different classes. But it's the classes that you're not gonna really find at Otero, where they're a freshman or sophomore. They can't go to Otero yet, but they want to go into that avenue. It just expands the opportunities for our kids, like starting as freshmen versus waiting until they get to be a junior to go to Otero or something. And computer science is huge. Our kids want that, and nursing with this new platform, they can get into the nursing earlier and see, hey, is that the route we want to go? It gives our kids more opportunities to see what they want to do.
Why did we steer away from it? When we had it up and running, was it just not as in high demand as it is now,
I don't
or?
think it's ever been like a full kit online. It's always been there to add those extras.
I think Ken could, and maybe Richie could to talk about that, because when we did have Tigers Online fully, like you're talking about, that was the night school, is what we called it at the time.
See, I knew what I was talking about.
Currently,
I'm dating myself a little bit, but that's what we called it, night school.
High school.
when I ran it up at the high school level, that was more of a credit recovery style. But we did offer, like Shauna was saying, and I recall kids taking like Mandarin and just languages that we didn't offer. And so there was just a lot more evidence for them to take what we used in the top program. But I think the reason, not that it went away, a big reason that top is not as big as it used to be is because that's what we created Tigers, our Tiger Trade Academy. And so top is still in existence. We do use a lot of that for extra classes, credit recovery, things of that nature.
So when we lose those 75 kids, we lose that funding, right?
Great, you do that.
Yeah, so we got it back with Tigers Online, we get the funding back.
I will tell you the funding for an online kid is less than a campus kid. But some is better than nothing. Right.
This might seem like a silly question, but I'll ask it anyway. I always ask when teacher leaves our district, did we do an exit interview? When a child leaves our district, do we give them any kind of exit as to why they left or what they're happy with that they couldn't find within our district? So that way we can try to make it all inclusive at our campus. Do we do any of those type of questionnaires or?
Yes, so Ms. Romero, she put together like an interview somewhat, everyone out there.
Yeah, so when they transfer between, a lot of this usually comes up when attendance becomes a problem. They want to go online because it's easier, there's less control. Those are some of the words that some of my kids that I've talked with have used. They like that they have. Some of the kids are working, some of them are helping care for their families, things like that, they're not dealing with it being conscious of it. A lot of the kids, that's some of the things that we're seeing, when they choose to go hybrid at TTA and then that becomes that they want to go fully online. That's not necessarily an option, we don't have that right now, that I'm gonna go to Los Angeles online, or I'm gonna go to bowling, because that fits my needs a little bit better. Formal interview or exit type thing. I don't think we have that. A lot of, some of the situations that I've been in, it's been in a very quick turnaround. You bring up questions, you bring up what's going on. Next thing you know, I'm getting a notification that they have enrolled in another district. So to do a true formal exit, I've not been able to do those with many of my kids. It's more of your conversation.
So a lot is, like she was saying, attendance, but we do have a lot that is social emotional. We do have some that are recommended now from some doctor's offices, saying that if fully online would be better. So we have, we somewhat have the gamut, and then there's other places who do have a work schedule, they would rather be working and then they do the online at their own time.
Added that COVID was really hard for most of us. Some kids fell in love with it. They like the idea that they can do their math in their pajamas. You know what I mean? I mean, they like that flexibility. And I think that there are online places that are offering that more than we are.
What do we need to facilitate this? Is it gonna be in a night school setting where they come non-traditional hours, or is this something they actually do from home on their own and we just kind of monitor progress?
So we have a district license for Edgenuity, which is what we use for our platform. So the idea is that they would do that from home on Edgenuity with teacher support. So to facilitate it, it's gonna take some moving people around maybe and some hiring people, but we already have the main things in mind. We already have a school that the state's given us a license for, Tiger Online, not a license, a number for, it's not a license. And we already have that school in place. We have the place to do it, which is upstairs at TTA. So we need to man it. And then we already have a platform. We already have the Edgenuity platform, which is the same thing that Goals using, that's the same thing that LA Online's using. So we have the place, we have the platform, we need the manpower. And and the kids in the seats. And I think we can get those kids in the seats.
In talking with some of the online too, the big thing is going to be communication. So when he's talking about manning it, really having people who are making phone calls, connecting with kids, creating those relationships, really getting in there to make sure that they are doing what they need to be doing to get those credits. And a lot of times when they're online, it's just having that sometimes a Zoom and or a phone call. So really making sure we hone in on those practices.
And so like my high grades kids, they operate on the check-in Zoom once or twice a day, depending on their schedule. And that's an actual Zoom with the teacher. And we would expand that to where we would expect them to log in at some point of the day and talk to a teacher. So.
How many teachers do you see manning?
Are we okay to?
Yeah. Just as, we haven't gone further than this, but I think that 2 general teachers, an administrator and a secretary. So, I mean, that's about what we need to man it. I'm thinking 100 kids for the first year, that's 50 kids for each teacher. I'd like to have them general teachers, and then if we expand that, I'd like to go, if we expand this and it works, then we would go 4 teachers. But what I'd like to start with is a general teacher that would do would watch them through their entire course.
So it'd be four new positions. 4 new positions
4 new positions,
for the online.
correct.
This isn't to replace what we're already doing at TTA.
No,
This is to capture those secondary students who
This
want
is-
a fully online option.
This is really just to capture it. I mean, really just to capture some of those kids that we lost and maybe gain a few. I don't think we want in the first year to offer it for everybody, but if we get an out of district kid, we would approach them the same way we would approach an out of district kid that came to Janesville.
What's lead time? Do we need to make this happen?
Well, we're talking to you today, we'd like to have it going by school year.
Is that realistic?
I think it's realistic. I think we can turn the juice on and get it going. But we really we'll we'll have to really get going on it. I think if we want to continue this, you guys are open to conversation at the next board meeting, I think we would present some. We would present some more hard data, for lack of a better term.
Just to throw my 2 cents, I know, especially Jen and Ken have been really thoughtful about how we could enroll this and how we could be successful. I know we had a lot of conversations about how some of these, I don't know. Some of these schools that have come on during that COVID time to offer these online programs were shiny and new, but they lacked the logistical support needed to really support all the kids that they had. So I think there were a lot of individuals that kind of jump ship from regular brick and mortar schools to these online systems. And then they had some struggles down the road. And so we had a lot of those conversations. I kind of had known one of the principals from LA Online. From my childhood education. And so we kind of started talking with some of these different schools and districts to see what they're doing to be successful. When I looked at some of the numbers, it seemed like LA Online struggled at the first couple of years, really trying to get things off and running. And right now it seems like LA Online is pulling a lot of numbers from a lot of different districts and they're doing a lot of really successful things. And so trying to do as much as we can, looking at the numbers we have here, the kids that we pull in here, but also meet some of these other leaders of these successful programs and see how they're doing it. That's one thing that we really talk about, was just that logistical need of what our numbers are gonna look like. We're hoping it's gonna grow. I anticipated it's gonna start small and grow, but you know, I can't say that we've had a lot of conversations on how we can do it as strategic as possible so that we have less frustration at the beginning. Like all things, I think we'll have a little bit, but I think having some of those meetings with those other districts and schools will help us out with that.
Do we know
I
what
would add, I would just add, kind of tail off of that. We get kids back to graduate. And sometimes those kids, we would be more in control of those kids' graduation plan than trying to fold in goal or LAs into our graduation plan. So we would keep the same graduation plan for these kids as we do for TTA or for the high school. I think that we would have a little more control of that, but I don't know if that's a good word, but we would at least.
I think keeping in mind, same within our district, with whichever platform you pick, because again, just like you were alluding to, oftentimes the kids that we do lose are because of truancy. And they'll go to somewhere else and then they get there and then we say, now we want to come back. Well, now they're back at us. And we're sometimes a grade behind or a grade and a half behind. So I think with the alignment here, if we have kids that want to fluctuate from online to back to the brick and mortar, we'll still have that alignment and still be within the grade level that they should be. And we wouldn't have that struggle of trying to catch them up and doubling them up on credit recovery and things of that nature. So that's just my 2 cents.
So we're talking
So
freshmen through senior, is our target window not any younger than that, or?
We would have to close it out, like right now, Ken, how many do you have totally online?
totally online, I mean, I've got 4 kids who are homebound. But those are different, homebounds are different monsters. So, but but my hybrid kids are 34, so I have 34 kids who are doing their core at home and their electives.
We do have the capability to use JUNTA.
We do.
I think with capturing the junior high earlier, you take less risk of losing them early. So like, we let that 7th or 8th grader not do it, well, you could already lose them to Los Angeles online and we're not gonna get them back from high school.
So we're
We
talking,
couldn't go lower than 7, can't really go lower.
yeah, so we're talking just the junior senior high building as a whole, 7 through 12.
Yeah.
Do we know what funding looks like for those online kids?
We don't at this point, but that would also be something that we would look at and have to put into this budget if we were starting it, let's say in August.
So then for
It would be, like Ken said, it is less for online.
Right. So then
And depending on how many we have, that we would sign up.
our overhead cost essentially for the online program is essentially just the staffing.
Yeah, the building's there, we're gonna have that platform anyway, whether I have 10 kids in that platform or 300 kids in that platform.
And we're already.
And we're gonna, well, yeah, well, that's next one.
how does this, Jared, this is probably your question, how does this fit into the scope of what we're trying to do with our district? Because we are going through such an overhaul, basically from the primary all the way up. Are these kids going to take state testing?
If we
So
can-
if we get 300 new children in a program that they come in and maybe they're the children that don't go the regular school routes and their scores start to drag down our entire district. How does this fit into our plan of what we're trying to accomplish right now? Because we're on turnaround here at this building, but we're on watch as the whole district, isn't that correct?
Yeah,
Can I help that just a little bit?
Sure.
We would be, this would be considered an AEC. That gives us a little bit of.
Wait, what is? Break it down for us, Ken.
So AEC is alternative education campus.
Okay,
So what a TTA is in AEC. So I get a little bit of leeway on state testing. I don't get thrown into the bad frameworks. I'm put on watch. I get a little bit of leeway, not a lot, but I do get a little bit. So instead of having 3 things, I get 4 things to look at. And well, you guys have seen my framework, so you know how that goes. So this would be an AEC. We get a little bit of leeway on the state testing. And it's, so that's just, I think that'll help you out a little bit. It's not perfect. They still expect them to test. But they don't bring the hammer down near as fast on an AEC.
but we are in fact trying to get TTA on a proper testing schedule to have
Yeah.
results that we can look at.
We're trying.
Then we can compare them to what we're trying to structure within the district, so we are all on the same page and get everybody off the watch. Is that what I'm understanding we're trying to do?
Yeah.
So just for the next meeting, I'd be very interested. I think it's a great idea to try to capture those out of network students that don't want to go to a traditional classroom. It's good thinking. I'd be very interested to see how we can tie it into this overhaul we're already doing as a whole. I mean, if we're gonna do it, let's do it. But I think if we can pitch it to other communities, maybe those people going to Los Animas, maybe want to come to Lana instead.
Just kind of circle back to that question with how it would affect test scores and things like that. Right, I think it could have a super great benefit and it could have a negative impact to it. I think that's where we kind of as educational leaders have to look at the data and see what's going on. I mean, if we have 300 kids flood this program and we're looking at their test scores and it's tanking us, then we have to look logistically at what our systems are there and whether we have to fix it or not. I mean, it still seems like our goal is to really educate all the kids in this area and support them. You know, our goal, I don't think right now is to pull a bunch of kids from Denver to join it. It's still to support our kids here. And part of this conversation was to get it out to the community to say, is this something that Lana really wants? We see a niche we think could help. Could this do it? And so as we start to increase these numbers, I see it just like that same way where, you know, it makes me feel uneasy that it's adding some choppiness to the water, but if it's a need for our kids and a need for our family, then we need to find the best way we can do it, be most effective at it, and then collect data and see what we need to change from there. You know, right now, every school is working on these 90-day plans that are looking at strategically what you're doing on a day-to-day basis and progress monitoring it. And I don't see this system as anything different. We add it. We hope we can support the needs of everybody in the, you know, in that area, and then collect data on it and see how we can be effective at it.
So essentially, we would just roll this program into things we're already doing and expect the same. I mean, everybody's going through a systemic change right now. There's no reason to not include them and get them on the same path.
Yes.
Okay.
I think one thing, like Ken was saying, the 75 are students. So really looking at in district first, this first year, just doing in district. That way we're not doing, like you said, and taking all those something outside pieces. Right now, it would be just in district.
Yeah. And we need to learn it. I mean, that's it. We really that makes sense. Find the best way.
Well, we haven't been able to essentially establish any testing data yet at TTA, so we're
Yeah.
still trying to work that piece.
Right. Yeah, I still have a lot of opt-outs and so I was still probably thinking right now my priorities will be insufficient out this year.
if we do get this up and running and if we have more of the same, I mean, opt-outs, that's something you see a lot of, that also affects us, quite a bit.
And please know that we realize that there's a lot of logistics we gotta look at. I mean, I even think about Dakota on the technology side and making sure that we can, we have the wireless capabilities, we have all the technology. So there's a lot of that. It's just kind of trying to get the ball rolling to see if it's a need.
I think our calc date stuff as well looks a little bit different as far as what they look at as far as typically it's 10 days before and after, but bottom line, I think it's a bit differently. We have to look at the hours logged in, so that's not just what we still have to take a look at as well.
And on the other piece of this, Mrs. Franco, I understand that it's not just some of the struggling students, it could be any student that wants to take any additional, anything.
Yeah.
Now have that opportunity at their fingertips.
Yeah, so it
Okay.
just gives them extra pathways to go.
So it's double-sided, it benefits everybody. Okay.
So that kind of leads us into our next little piece that we wanted to talk about. We had talked about e-dynamics a little bit before. And then the question came is why do we need e-dynamics if we have edgenuity?
Explain the dynamics, please.
Yes, so let me go through this to
Okay.
get to there,
Okay.
okay? So when we're looking at our graduation pathways, we do have the 2 different pathways that we have across the district. And then going through there, each student has to complete a capstone. So if you flip over to the next page, this is the college and career readiness demonstrations that the state of Colorado has put out there. So they have to have an assessment score, concurrent enrollment, if the English or a math class is passed with a C or better does count as that assessment score. And or they have to have an industry certificate. And or they have to do a district capstone. We put together a great presentation with the capstone, then Shauna has all of that ready to go. Our kids do go ahead and complete that. But if we go back up to the industry certificates, that's where e-dynamics comes in. So with Edgenuity, kids can print out a certificate to say they completed the course. What e-dynamics does is it gives an industry certificate. So if we had a kiddo who was wanting to go in for Microsoft Office, let's say, they could complete the e-dynamics course, take the industry certificates, and receive that certificate of completion. So now that they have an industry certification. That's where this e-dynamics comes into play. The other thing of why we like e-dynamics is once a kiddo completes that course, they take that industry test, that certification test. If they do not pass it, e-dynamics will pay for that student to take that course again. That's how much they believe in the program. So in going through there, what we wanted to do was this next page is the district ICAP process / capstone. That's just all of the different things that Shauna talks to the kids about going all the way through there. And then if we want to go to the next one here, this is where we're talking about the quality and in-demand non-degree credentials and work. So really looking at those, instead of a student having to take a college credit to receive an industry certificate, they can go through e-dynamics, take a course that they're interested in, take the certification test. If passed, then they have an industry certificate. So then once they go out into the job site, now that gives them a leg up on those who do not have an industry certificate, and it counts as on our pathway of completion.
And the nice thing about e-dynamics, we have a lot of kids that think they want to go into the nursing field. E-dynamics will allow these kids as freshmen and sophomore to take some pre-nursing stuff to see if it's what they really want. Before we send them over to Otero, their junior and senior year, and they get into the nursing thing and they're like, oh no. So this gives our kids like a prerequisite of, hey, I think I want nursing, but they could take that pre-class and it may not be. So it really helps them explore all the different pathways that they want. And cybersecurity and game design are huge. And that's one of the main ones that e-dynamics has.
And so the difference between my certificate and industry certificate. The industry certificate, the state will give us some cash back. I don't know how much, because that's
It depends on how
how
many
many
in the
kids
state.
in the state take it, it's just one pile of money, it's just divvy it out. So we get some of that money back. How much is just at the end of the year, when there was 2,000 kids in it, and they just divvy it out that way. Per student, there's the word I was looking for.
But then you could also use this, new certificate, the industry recognized one on a job application
Yes.
as,
Yes.
as actually
Yes.
having,
Yes,
okay.
This would be like a certified HVAC technician.
Yeah.
So reading this, really, we could have kids getting their CNA while they're in high school.
We already have kids doing that through Otero, but this gives them the upper hand of, as a freshman, they could start the medical terminology and all that. And go this way and then transfer into Otero. But you could get somebody to do cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is huge, it's getting bigger and bigger. They can do it all on eDynamics.
So it's building their background knowledge. Before they actually get to the concurrent and or college campus.
And these classes would fall in line with these prereqs, or would they be considered electives?
Most of them would be electives.
Just more information at their fingertips earlier if they want it, it's there,
Yes.
okay?
about 300 different avenues, correct?
There's a lot of different.
Yeah,
So what we did is this next page is the CDIP certifications of what Ken was talking about. So this is what the state says, different certification routes that kids can go. This is a whole big listing. And then the next page is the eDynamics. So within here, these are the ones that they have tied through, and the list is getting bigger. So these are the ones that eDynamics has that actually are with the state already.
eDynamics will not replace Edgenuity.
No, you need both. eDynamics is for your CTE and your electives, where Edgenuity has Educate plus your core.
What is the cost of this?
Okay,
yeah,
okay, so we
Sorry, is that?
No.
we didn't want to overwhelm it tonight, but at the same time, wanted to give you all the information. So, Ken and I we talked with one person from eDynamics, and then they got their Salesforce in. Right now, what we're doing for next year is we can have unlimited full access to the junior high library, to the CTE electives, and then the high school electives. So with that, it's like 27,000. What we'd like to do is pilot it for next year, see how it goes, see how many kids are actually taking the classes. Do we need a full lot online access? Do we need all of the junior high electives? Do we need the high school electives? We know we want the CTE route for sure. So the question is kind of how we should those other ones, because the cost is so low this year, and then see what we truly want and be going off of what the kids, their needs and interests are. So there was a $40,000 bid, but then when we had the conversation about being able to use it, getting to know it, it's like right at under 27,000.
Per year,
for the first year.
for the first year. And if it's great, 40.
Well, it
Well,
depends on what we decide we actually want. If we
It'll
don't
probably be tailored to our needs then.
Now it's still being unlimited or would be.
Well, it depends on what you
packages?
pick.
And then if we looked at it and we go, we only had so many kids, then we could go a different route. I mean, the unlimited thing is nice, we put as many kids in as we want. And they can retake stuff. Or if we look at next year, and we say, oh, we only have this many kids and we can do it first year.
So my concern as mom then, who is going to be recruiting these kids to partake in these wonderful electives that we are now able to
That'd be neat.
freely spread? Because do we have a GT program at the junior, senior high? This would work hand in hand with that. This is great.
Well, not just necessarily GT, this would be any kid that maybe they just aren't the regular learner, but they want that hands-on, like, go out into the world, not college stuff. Like, kids could walk out of high school with these certificates and get a job. So it's not just your GT kids, it is everybody.
think of what I really like it too, especially at Ken's building, thinking about our type of trades. And knowing that we do need to have more CTE in place for our kiddos there. This would be an avenue that kids could really get into what it is that they want to get in, what their interests are. They would know right away if they wanted to go a certain path or not. So it really opens it up for our all students, like Sean understand, but then really helps out CTA as well.
These are all online classes. Do they do these online classes on campus?
Or they could, so we would have to discuss that on, if we were gonna do that with the online program. Or if we were just gonna do it on campus.
But the nice thing about it, even if you didn't have a kid that was doing everything online, you could have that one kid that says, I really want to go into cybersecurity, but I still want to take my high level maths and stuff at school. We could still offer them this class. Kind of like what we're doing with this talk, just a higher level of learning through each item.
I think we could open up our electives a little bit to where 4 or 5 different things could be going on in the classroom. So one elective class, but you might have a kid in Microsoft and you might have another kid in medical assistant.
Do we have the staff to confidently answer any questions in these very varied fields?
So my understanding when we watched, when we talked to the lady, everything is given to the teachers. So there is a library for the teachers. So say I went in there and taught something I didn't know anything about. It's all there that you can research and help the kids.
So it doesn't have to
It's like the curriculum's right there.
one designated special professional who knows this and one over, it can
No.
just be a blanket, you get the resources you need.
What other districts are using this?
I do know that Rocky Ford is trying to get it, because when I went to the CTE meetings, they were really trying hard to get it, and so is Sherrod.
I had a conversation in the last superintendent meeting where it was kind of introduced to see what districts were contemplating using it, and I think that's a discussion that we're going back to visit the superintendents to kind of see who all is interested, to see if whether this could be at a district level, or maybe if there's enough interest that it could potentially be at like a BOCES level. And so I know that's up in the air right now for discussion as well.
I like the innovative thinking going on. I really appreciate the legwork you guys put into this and trying to be inclusive to all of our students, no matter where they are. I would also like to know how this fits into the framework that we're trying to develop. I think it's good thoughts. Looks good, it sounds good. I would be happy to have that at our schools.
I concur.
You guys probably weren't ready for all those questions, so sorry about that.
No, we were prepared for 100 more. So we can for the.
So more to come then on that,
Hopefully next month.
both items?
Great.
We have the votes. Right, we do have the vote for e-dynamics now, we have to decide on that by, Jill, was it June 30?
June 30, that's
Yeah, and if we go beyond that, that 27 is out the window and it goes to that 40, whatever.
Okay, so can we just plan to have that at our next meeting? Would that be enough time?
And I think we can get together on some data for the other piece too. What the personnel will cost you. That could be kind of.
Well, thank you guys. I
Yeah.
appreciate it very much. All right. Moving on. Item C. Chartwell Service, Amanda. Yeah.
I'm gonna face the table about those. Drive me crazy, y'all. There, okay. So, as Richard says, easily, which I think is hilarious, I'm gonna try to keep it under 45 minutes. Jill told me like to keep it under an hour. And every time I watch this at home, I crack up. Knowing Richie's gonna talk for like 5 minutes. So, same, I'm gonna talk for like 5 minutes. So this year, we've gotten some new equipment, nothing crazy. No new freezers or refrigerators, which would be phenomenal. But we got some, new shelves and carts and tables for primary. Some of that stuff, I think there's been there since the beginning of time. I don't know entirely, but I know the walk-in freezer is pretty damn close, so. We did get a new warmer for TTA as well. Keeping the food hot is very, very important. They're not terribly expensive things, but just little things that do improve quality of food service. So just so everyone's aware, we do get new things, just nothing crazy fancy, but new things that do make a difference. So new shelves for the freezer or the walk-in and primary two makes a difference, just to be able to store things like reasonably. I'm pretty sure the shelves that were in there were as old as I was, so those stuff needs to go. Reland in the summer, which is very recent, but we did do about 650 meals for Reland in the summer, which is pretty awesome to feed that many adults and kids from the community. It's a really great event, and my kids absolutely love Reland in the summer, so I'm so glad we get to do stuff like that and feed all of the people at the same time. So, one thing, the primary freezer has been down for about a month or so. And if any of you have ever had an appliance down at your house for any amount of time, whether it be a washer or dryer refrigerator, it sucks. It's really hard. So we've had to go back and forth for the freezer at the warehouse, which I'm so incredibly grateful for those freezers at the warehouse. But right now they are packed full of commodities for summer, and bonus commodities too. So like doubly free commodities, which are just, we're required to get commodities from the state, but, when it's a required component. So right now we have like frozen fruit cups. But those freezers are literally at capacity. So everybody think happy thoughts about those freezers. So if they go down, I quit. We can have everything from commodities is like 30 or 40 pound boxes. And there's probably about 10,000 pounds of it at the warehouse right now. So happy thoughts. Everybody think happy thoughts. So going back and forth is really brutal. So I've been working with Crispin to try to get that freezer fixed as soon as possible. Down the road, I would love to, I know you guys got way bigger fish to fry, but down the road, we do need to think about replacing that refrigerator and freezer, because they are OG to the building, like they were not replaced with the remodel or renovation, whatever happened at primary. So those are OG. They've been there since probably.
How much do those cost?
Oh, it's like $45,000. There's different things you can do. You can like put a new like coat of paint on them, you know, for like 10 grand, or you can replace them entirely for like 45, I think was the last quote that Crispin got. We can get equipment grants from the state, but it's no easy feat to tear those out of there and completely replace them. So it's definitely like, we have to talk about it now, plan it for next summer, maybe execute it the summer after that. Like, it's not oh, we're just gonna replace the refrigerator at your house kind of situation.
Is it gonna live that long?
That's a great question. They have absolutely been just slapping Band-Aids on them for the last few years. I've only been here for 3, obviously, but again, that condenser makes it sound that if your car was making that sound, you would take it to the mechanic right away. It just rattles and it's fine, like it still works.
One of the hardest things in some of those freezers is there are sprinkler heads in those freezers. So when we take those out and replace them, those sprinkler heads have to obviously be in compliance with the fire alarm system. So that is one of the biggest feats of doing it in the summertime, is we have to shut down a section of water system to be able to pull that and put it back in. So that is why it's more beneficial to try to do that during the summer, as opposed to obviously when the kids are in school. We need to have that system a bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do summer food service program to some extent out of that school as well. So it would shut down that for the summer too if we did that. So
So is there? I don't know who to look to, but is there a plan to like? It sounds like this is not something that you
It's
can like.
it's a hope and a dream for sure.
Currently, there is a part that has been ordered for the current situation. I talked to Crispin, that is it, and that will be getting put in the coming days. When I give my report, I'll talk a little bit about our 5-year projection, and those are built into that as well. And I think some of those funds may be able to come from you guys as well. So, yeah, we did start that in 5-year projection.
And the last thing I have is summer food service program. We will be doing, we say SFSB, but summer food service, I know how education loves acronyms. So does CDU, like with food service too, but summer food service program, we will be doing it June 2nd through August 1st, and we serve Monday through Thursday. We'll do the community food service mostly here at the intermediate school, parent pickup loop like we did last year, very similar. To my knowledge, we're not really doing summer school food service per se. There is a few things we'll do at primary later in the summer, but for right now, that's the plan for summer food service. We will do it the entirety of the summer. And July 4th is on Friday with this year, which is really cool. So it won't really affect summer food service at all. Normally, we take a couple of days on either side of it, but since it's on a Friday, we don't really have to worry about it, so. That is all I have, I told you.
I have a question,
Yes.
and I would be in trouble probably if I didn't have you sitting right in front of me and ask. Did we ever address the food situation at the primary school? The teachers thought that maybe some board members should come and have lunch one day.
Yeah, I mean, we don't feed nearly as many teachers as we have in the past because the teachers pay for meals now, instead of it being free through ESSER funds. So, most of what the teachers eat is just the same things that kids eat. And, I mean, I think it's great. My kids eat in these schools, like a lot of other parents. So, I mean, and my staff and I eat it as well too. So it's not just the teachers and the kids, like we have a lot of people that eat the food as well. And I haven't gotten complaints about it. And again, I eat it as well, like.
I came for career day. I
Yes,
too
ma'am.
had lunch. I
Yes.
did. It was okay. We had also received, let me filter this real quick. When we went to COVID, like it was optional, huh? When COVID happened to us, we went to lunch bag meals with a lot of prepackaged food because they didn't want you touching or breathing on anything. Have we gotten more back to actual food options? I mean, my kid really loves those Uncrustables.
Most
They're
kids
not
do.
really that healthy though, if you read the package. Have we gotten more into hot lunch? When I came for career day, there was this cute option called a Lunchable.
It's
That
the
was
pizza.
not a Lunchable, but. it
Yeah,
was
it's
like
not, but that's what the
bacon.
kids call it, just to make it easier, but it is it's a pizza bento box, but it's essentially the same concept as a Lunchable. And a lot of kids do take that, but it's essentially like a make your own pizza with flatbread and mozzarella cheese and marinara. It has all the components for a lunch, but it is the gateway between the Uncrustable, which a lot of kids do go for the Uncrustables. Heck, at Real End of the Summer, I had 2 staff members. We had roasted chicken and hot dogs. And both of them sat there and ate an Uncrustable sandwich. I'm like, what, guys, but sometimes it's just what you're feeling that day for sure. But yes, we have gotten away from, COVID was really brutal. We did have to serve a lot of prepackaged stuff. And it's the same reason that a lot of school districts now require when you bring things to the classroom that they have to be store-bought. It's the same idea. It's because you want to know, not only for prepackaged things for your safety, but now allergies are so prevalent. Like that's a huge part of prepackaged things. But now we've gotten away from that as much as possible. Uncrustables are the one, I don't even want to say like bad thing in
Don't
that.
take them away.
No, I
I will
won't. Oh,
never
no
do
way.
that.
They'll ride me out of town. Are you kidding me? But no, Uncrustables are the one thing I would say that's gonna live through all of that. But we do offer homemade, hot lunch every single day. We do have cold sandwiches for those kids that don't like biscuits and gravy, or if they don't like the pasta or whatever it is we're serving. I try to offer those options to get those kids to eat. Because we are CEP, so all kids eat for free and healthy meals for all, like all kids eat for free. So my idea is the more options I can offer them, the better chance we have of feeding all of those kids and not having kids bring home lunch. Because when they bring home lunch, that's what I see. I see hot Cheetos and Uncrustables and soda or Capri Sun lunch. And don't get me wrong, I'll kill Capri Sun too, but just like people eat Uncrustables. But so I try to offer those options so we can capture those home lunch kids too, so we can feed as many kids as possible each day. So as much as I personally actually really don't like Uncrustables. Like in my whole life, I've never been able to eat them, but there's so many people, my husband and my daughter included, that absolutely love them and would be heartbroken if I took them away. So I try to walk a very fine line of offering things that I know kids will eat, but also those homemade options that, the pastas and biscuits and gravy and enchilada casserole and things that I know kids like as well, and try to get the kids to eat those things too. And nachos and things that will never go away from school lunch, but.
Is there, I sort of vaguely recall a couple of years ago, the legislature passed some legislation about buying local or local produce.
There is Buy American, which is a Buy American provision, so a lot of, most everything we buy has to come from the United States, but they do have funding for local foods. Ironically, the salad that Miss Ayala had for lunch that day is hydroponic lettuce that is grown in Swing. We do buy hydroponic lettuce from Swing. It's called the Summer's House. It's the best lettuce I've ever had in my life. And truly, if we buy like commercial lettuce and that lettuce, you could tell, even the kids can tell the difference on the salad bar between that lettuce, because it's like mixed pale green versus the hydroponic lettuce, which is super bright green. It's really good. It's really great lettuce, and I have salad all the time for lunch just because I know how good it is. We do pay more for that lettuce, but it's absolutely worth it. There is funding for local foods, however, it recently was cut. So it's kind of, they gave it to us, they dangled it on a carrot and then took it away. So we do, that is one local food that we do purchase is hydroponic lettuce. Unfortunately, y'all know from living in the valley, the growing season is during the summer. When we do summer feeding program, but we don't purchase a lot of produce necessarily during the summer, just because it's hard to purchase what I need to purchase, the amounts I need to purchase, to feed the amount of kids that we feed for summer feeding program. But lettuce is one thing that I stick with. We give families the whole head because as we are allowed to do that as a waiver, give bulk ingredients. So I do like the kids, because the hydroponic lettuce does still have the root ball on it. So I do like to give families that full head of lettuce. Not to mention, once you cut it up, it starts to, get brown and gross too. So that way they can use it for whatever they like. But we do continue to serve the hydroponic lettuce during the summer, just not in the same way that normally kids see it. So we do use the hydroponic lettuce. Other districts, Shura and Crowley County also purchase local beef, which is a lot more expensive, obviously, but you are purchasing a local product. We get a lot of our beef, we use a lot of beef from commodity, USD commodities is where we have a lot of our beef. But some districts are gravitating towards the local beef as well, which is totally an option. In Wyoming, we went to we use local pork and local beef. Because both were raised in Wyoming, very close to the school district. So it is an option, however, there is a higher cost involved.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
All right, moving on. Item 5, interim committee's report and recommendations. Oh, Dawn, I'm so sorry. I clicked on it and then I skipped right over it. My bad, okay.
That's okay.
We have Dawn Ortiz, our human resources coordinator, giving us an update. Sorry, Dawn.
I just wanted to give you guys a couple of quick updates, things happening, things in the past that have been resolved, type things. I know para has been a hot question lately. We're completely caught up on para. The issue was a lot of the things were pending because when I submit the contributions to be paid, we have a lot of student workers, mostly at TTA, and they don't pay the contributions if you're under 18. So when I do that, I have to make an adjustment to it. The adjustment has to be reviewed. It has to be approved before the payment even processes. So it's kind of a process when that happens. So it kind of puts a delay on things for a little bit. Also, our representative has moved up the chain and is no longer a representative. Our new representative is currently on maternity leave. So we have a temporary fill-in. So it's kind of been like the perfect chain of events. When you try to reach somebody and you can't reach them and they say, oh, well, I'm not doing that. So let me pass you off to so-and-so. So everything has been resolved and there is still a December one that is floating. It shows that it's paid. I go on the portal. I have the receipt that says it was paid on December 20th. I've sent 2 different emails now, of course, to our 2 different representatives. So I'm still waiting to hear back why that one is still kind of floating, but it was paid. We are also trying to get a representative to come down from para, hopefully in August when we come back to our back to school staff meeting to kind of talk to employees, especially new employees getting ready to retire, The para portal has really fantastic information on there. If anybody's who's ever visited it, it's just copara.org. On our monthly newsletter, the information is also linked there, so employees can check it out there. Any questions that they have. You know, when an employee starts with us, of course, we give them that information. That's part of that packet. Very overwhelming. Let's be real. I always try to refer them to the website. Hey, this has really good information. I know what I'm going to tell you now. You're not going to remember in 10 minutes. So that's there all the time. We have very knowledgeable employees who are very interested in helping with that information as well. So if anybody ever had questions, I could direct them if there's something I didn't know, if they're more comfortable talking to somebody in person versus the website. So that's kind of the idea of hopefully getting a representative down here to be able to be available to talk to people in person. So, right now we currently have open enrollment for all of our health, vision, and dental. That started on May 1st and it will run until the 15th. So all of our employees get an email with access. It's all online. The benefits to make your selections and stuff. We use the East portal. Our insurance broker, sorry, I couldn't think of the word, Mark Kuby was actually here on May 1st and was available to all of our employees to meet and have conversations if they had questions or comments, concerns, anything, you know. We had 2 employees come. And one who wasn't able to make it, but did reach out and he provided the contact information, you know, please, he's very open, says if anybody has questions at any time, please just feel free to pass along my information.
He was like at central office and they had to come to him.
Yep, but he was definitely willing to go to the other buildings. That was part of the information that was put out ahead of time. If you can't make it to the building, please let me know. We'll make arrangements for him to come to you.
Was it like during a regular workday?
It was during the regular workday. So if somebody had a planned time, you know, and they knew I'm not gonna be able to get out of the building, but can somebody come talk to me? He was available for that.
Do you think it would be better attended if it was on a day like Friday?
Not necessarily,
Or if we put them in a place where we already require them all to be?
we have talked about that as well. Potentially him coming kind of at the beginning of the year. When our open enrollment is, we start our new plans on July 1st. So it's kind of a weird time. So if we have them come in August, we've already missed that enrollment period. So it's kind of hard to catch everybody all at one time. But again, he's very open, open to passing on his information. He'll have a conversation with anybody at any time. So it's been very great to work. For the benefits, we chose those, we had an insurance selection committee we do every year. Different members from every building come together kind of and discuss, you know, what works, what doesn't work. He takes that information, goes to different insurance carriers, you know, kind of shops around for us, as well as whatever we currently have. It brings them back. And this year we had no increase on any of our plans, which was great news. So we were able to stick with all of the same plans and all of our same things. So that is currently happening now. Also happening is our American Fidelity open enrollment, which is our supplemental insurance. So it's not required for anybody to have, but it's supplemental if anybody was interested in picking it up. That's accident, cancer, life, disability, things of that nature. So a representative comes to the building and if an employee would like to, they can talk about it and enroll, change, update, things like that. They get to make their own appointments. There's a little bit of a representative shortage. So normally we kind of do it like all in 2 weeks for all of the building. So 2 weeks ago, they came for a few of the buildings and then next week, they'll be here again to finish up the enrollment. But each employee can select their time on those specific days to meet with the representative.
Highly utilized or
Highly used.
so they did take advantage of it?
Yes, we do have a lot of employees that do sign up for the supplemental insurance.
Do you know why the supplemental insurance meetings are highly attended and then meeting with their reps for their actual insurance is not?
Because when you do the actual, like your health, vision and dental insurance, you get to make those decisions on your own. It's through an online portal. American Fidelity does require that you sit with a representative to make those selections.
So choice. Do you think there's any confusion with anyone who's just presented an email and has to try to figure it out on their own, or do you think it's pretty self-explanatory to walk it through yourself?
A lot of it is pretty self-explanatory. We do throw it out there that, again, I'm available. Mark Kuby, the insurance broker, is available for any of those questions. Especially with new employees, we do get a lot of questions on, you know, how does this work? What does this look like? Portal is very user-friendly. It opens with, you know, welcome to your insurance benefits. The district is gracious and pays, you know, up to $800 for the insurance bridge towards it. It lists out all the different plans. You can do a comparison, all of the plans even. You can play around with it, and if you want to add beneficiaries and dependents and things like that, you can. And then off to the side, it lists all of the costs. So what the plan would be before the insurance fringe, then once you take out the insurance fringe, so what you're actually paying out of pocket. So it's pretty self-explanatory for the most part. But again, of course, we have questions.
Are we able to make it a requirement, at least for new staff, that they have to sit with the insurance rep at least once?
That could be something that we,
Simply because some of them aren't even aware of how to fill out a W-2. And some don't want to ask the questions, so they just don't opt in. Some are not tech savvy, some just don't understand what they're doing, and that's okay. I mean, you're overwhelmed, it's a new space, you're trying to do a new thing, I get it. But at the bare minimum, make that initial requirement, hey, you might feel comfortable in the portal, but just in case you're not, Mark is here and he's gonna help walk you through your initial one time for the one time. So you're set from here on out. Then we build our own competence individuals.
we do have several employees who are not so tech savvy come to central office, and we kind of sit with them and help make the selections or kind of talk through it. If you know, so that does happen. But yes, having Mark here more is not a terrible thing if he's willing to.
I would rather have and not need than need and not have.
I agree. I agree. The other thing that's happening is the administrators' contracts have already gone out. All the administrators should have received all of their contracts by now. The certified ones were approved at the last board meeting, so those are in process and should be all out by the end of this week. We have a lot of vacancies to currently fill, so we've been advertising a lot, and interviews have started in several of the buildings for several of the positions we have available. So hopefully we'll start hiring for those very soon.
How many vacancies do we have?
A lot.
I know.
I couldn't tell you right off of the top of my head, just because of the different categories we have. But we have probably about 15 to 20. But please keep in mind with those, some of those are returning staff members who were not licensed, who are required to apply for their job because they were itinerant subs. So in the event that we find a licensed teacher who is more qualified, you know, they may take one of those positions.
Where and how are we advertising?
Well, I don't know if you've seen it on Facebook, we have done it on Facebook.
Yes.
Every time I see it.
It's on the district, it's on the district website. We do lots of the local newspapers, Rocky Ford, Lamar, Pueblo, of course. We've gone to K-12 Job Spot. Indeed, there's a lot of online platforms that we use as well.
Okay.
Are we?
Skydiver, Skywriting.
I have a son who just finished up his first year in college, and we made flyers for music because he goes to a school that has a lot of music majors, music education majors, and had him put some of those out there. So, you know, job fairs when we have them, usually Otero, we've gotten a couple from there.
Have we seen an increase in applications since switching to the?
Absolutely. Since our online application process started, we have probably tripled, if not quadrupled, the amount of applications coming in. It seems every day there's a handful. It's easier to track. It goes straight to who it needs to, as well as myself. Definitely worth the time that it took to learn the program, for sure.
All good things, sounds like it's happening.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Okay, now, right, Richie? Operations update.
45-minute update.
Wait, before you start, I'm supposed to tell you, you have to speak louder. Cause the people watching at home can't hear
You got it,
you
you got
or
it,
you.
you got it.
You got it.
Ellie says you can't hear you.
I just want to touch base a little bit on what Mr. Grimmick talked about. I had a meeting with Sheriff Mobley today along with Chief Wood concerning our neighbor across the way over at 22nd. As you guys may be familiar, we've had 7 major incidences in the last 2 years involving whether it's damage to our property, theft to our property, assault to a track coach, and now recently an assault to a student. And I'm just at the point right now where I did attend the county commissioner meeting this afternoon, shared the same information with them. I want to share the same information with you all as well. And my plan is to go to the next city council and share the same information there as well. In my humble opinion, the clientele that comes and goes from that location over there has caused a lot of heartache for our school district, more specifically the junior senior high school. We use the stadium a lot for our PE classes, or our football games, our track meets, our graduation that's coming up here. And just some of that clientele, they have wandered over unwanted. Our foot traffic behind that school has probably increased over 100% just in the year alone. I intentionally have my camera set up on the high school known to notify me between certain periods of time at night to tell me when there is movement behind the high school. And I wake up every morning with numerous notifications of foot traffic behind the high school. And so I humbly believe after looking at footage, they come and go from that location there. So I, along with what Mrs. Grimmick is doing, is I am reaching out to our constituents and our governing bodies to say, what can we do? We need help here. Our hands are tied. We are the victims in a lot of this stuff. Again, this is not a complaint on any of our law enforcement partners or anything of that nature. But it is time that something needs to be done with that residence over there, and I don't know what that could be. But I am going to shout it from the hilltops until I can ensure that our kids and our staff are safe. We have come up with different recommendations and protocols as far as when we have track practice over there, that gates things locked. But we have done things to ensure to increase the safety of our kids, our staff, our property, our everything. And so with this recent event, this is again something that really needs attention, and I'm asking for everybody's help on that, just to kind of put our minds together to see what we can do to ensure that we are no longer victims of anything from the clientele that comes from that residence.
So do I understand the properties in the county?
So, yeah, so if you basically know correct, this is not 100% accurate, but if you basically take Smithland Avenue, 22nd Street from Smithland down to 22nd Street. If you divide that roadway in half, the south side of that roadway is considered county and the north side is considered city. It's just a jurisdictional line. That's been that way when I was a police officer. So the folks that come from that place, they come from a county jurisdiction, but then when they come over to our area, it becomes a city matter. So I know our local guys are being inundated with having to deal with the situation that comes from over there. And again, this is not a complaint on, the sheriff's office or the PD guys. We've worked with them very closely. And I talked to both heads of those departments today. We're taking up just to see what we can do. And so, again, that has been heavy on my radar for at least the last 2 years to see what we can do about that. And unfortunately, we have to say this weekend that took place. So just so that you guys are aware of that, that is my plan. I'm not gonna be able to make the city council meeting coming up next Monday as I will be out of the country. However, I plan on maybe going to that one on the following month. With that being said, moving on, I've got a list of things I've talked to Crispin about. Beginning this summer, we're gonna have the installation of the flooring here at the intermediate. Continue on what we have already started from on the second floor. Painting of hallways will obviously resume here at the intermediate as well. Replacing outlets and switches and whatnot over at Ken's building. Yeah, I mentioned replacing ceiling tiles at the high school and obviously the roof, we're gonna hear, we'll find out from best grant on that deal. Plumbing repairs at the high school, we just got some drains and some of the urinals that need replaced, which is fixed up on there. Some additional outlets and switches that need to be placed at the high school. Concrete repair outside the high school gym there, we have a tree that the roots have caused the concrete to come up there, so those are tripping hazards, so we're gonna fix those. Mainly we have some touch-ups, painting at the primary. Outdoor basketball nets, loops backwards, I believe it's for this building here. And then I know Stacy had talked to me about crosswalks. I did have a meeting with the city this weekend and talked about getting those done, so we'll aim for those late July, early August, just so that they're fresh when it's time for school. A couple things not to forget. Obviously graduation is on the 18th, beginning at 7:30. Ken will have his awards beginning this coming Wednesday, correct? That's 12 to 4. Orange and black ceremony beginning 2 to 4:30 at Jen's place, correct? 2 to 4. And then graduation is
Wednesday, Jen's yours is Thursday.
I believe you have already had your award ceremony, and please forgive me, but I think
Intermediate is
Yeah.
May 21st.
May 21st is intermediate award ceremony on that as well. The last thing I wanted to say, I know Jared and I have talked, we want to put together some sort of response concerning the meeting for the concerns that have come up there. I know Mr. Smith had addressed what I just talked to you about, our neighbor over yonder. That was one big thing. So we are going to work on that. Unfortunately, after tomorrow, I won't get to see him for a week and I will be out of the country for a week. I did provide Jared and the staff and all the principals with kind of my Bible as far as what they need to do in the event of my absence, such as alarms and whatnot, but they are aware of what they need to do on that. That is all I have. Any questions for me?
I know that when we had that first instance of a problem a year ago, I do know there were some letters that were written from city. I think, if you need any of us to write a letter of our concerns, so maybe we can get eyes on them faster and get a faster response, or help everybody collaboratively come up with a plan. I'm willing to do that.
Anything would help. You know, I don't know if some of the stuff I think could potentially fall under the health department guidelines, and talking to Dean, that might be something there. I think land management might be an issue. Coincidentally, I did talk to Joey Gassman from the USDA because we have a pack of dogs that seem to be coming up around the high school at night, getting into our dumpster there, but I think he's actually eyeballing those packs of canines that may be involved in some cattle mauling up in near the area. So he is actually, unbeknownst to me, I called him totally separate from this deal. He could potentially be a resource for us as well to help it as well, but again, if this is, I want to make a big deal of this because we need help. Whether it's from our board, council, commissioners, anybody that can think of something that we can approach this. And not by any means we're not in the business to tell somebody, hey, you have to move out of your house, or you're not allowed to have so and so for a barbecue or not. But the fact remains is we have traffic that happens at that residence that ends up leading over into our property that affects the safety of our staff, students.
I would encourage my fellow board members to write a letter that we can then get to Richie to help express our concerns about the situation that's been happening and it seems to keep occurring year after year. Encourage some expeditious action to take place before something more serious happens or we're talking about loss of life or, you know, really a huge tragic incident that we could have sat on top of and prevented. Anybody have any questions? Do we have the list of rotating building improvements?
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was actually the other thing I had. So Kristen and I actually started that 5-year capital improvement plan. We found the old document from I think it was 21-24. And kind of peeking at that deal, I'm pretty proud of us because pretty much everything on that deal we have completed, and they were some pretty major projects.
They were,
And so right now we're starting to build this. I think I forwarded it to Dee and I think she was gonna share it with all of you. But we have just started putting some numbers into that so we can start building off of that. And looking with the exception of maybe the roof at Jen's place, some of the stuff that we're looking at might just be simple improvements to keep things going. And so, yes, this is a very, very, very fresh document that we just started and we'll be adding to that. So we want to continue that 5-year outlook for capital improvements so that we just started that. So see, we'll have that completed at some. My goal is to try to have that completed by, I do believe Crispin comes in August for his general report. So hopefully by then, if not maybe next month, I think that obviously for my real side of my job portion, but we have started that project there.
intermediate school staff in the building. How is the sewer smell? Is that improved?
I am the worst person to ask. I don't have a sense of smell, but
Oh,
from watching people's reactions when they walk in the building, it's been bad. And I don't know that it was the sewer smell, it's been more the bat smell in the last couple weeks. So, but there seems to be a smell issue.
and I know that's a work in progress.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I do know that deal, they did find, I think, the initial entry point, right in this room here. It seems as though maybe we have found another one, so we'll look at that. I do know part of the sewage smell at one point was then pipe that was broken outside of the school. They did locate that to fix that. That did help that, but we oftentimes do have drains that if they are not exercised a lot, the P traps will tend to give off an odor. So we did start talking to the custodians on maybe every Friday, we're putting some of that mango smelling stuff down just to kind of keep that going. But we do see that oftentimes. I remember at the high school a lot, if we didn't exercise those drains over the summer, we'd come back in and be greeted with an unpleasant smell. So we are working on that as well.
Did Dee send out that list? I didn't. I haven't seen that. Can we get that one sent out?
Yes, ma'am. That'd be great.
Quick question, how did high school roof hold up in rain?
What's that?
How did your roof hold up in?
Oh, did not. Yeah, we had buckets, trash cans, everything. Actually, Jeremy was there today and I was showing him where some of the tiles were gone. What's interesting is there is a skylight underneath all of the tile. That would explain why there's a lot of,
On the second floor,
yeah,
yeah, in the library.
well, there was that one. No, this is like down.
Just gotta ask somebody from that time.
I know, as soon as I say that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm opening myself up.
Now, the libraries are really, not all collected, but there was a big puddle, nobody had not had there before. What we saw today was, new tiles that have fallen, and then we look up through the tiles, there's actually a skylight up in there, but there is plumbing and pipes all the way around it, and then the false ceiling. So it's like a skylight false ceiling. It's weird.
It does look like they engineered in a way that I would not have. Again, I do not have an engineering degree, but it is all that we do have a skylight. And then we have, plumbing, looks like, I believe it's plumbing for water, electrical and fire that all run underneath the skylight. And then below that is where we saw,
I think a lot of the false ceiling stuff came into play years ago to kind of avoid the asbestos pieces. So at that point now it's being hidden in there running pipes.
They had to put a skylight in to make up for the last windows.
Yeah.
That they then covered with a false ceiling. Make it make sense.
Makes no sense.
Is that 2 days solid of rain that we got was amazing for our farmers, but it sure woke up a lot of people that owned a building or had, who thought they had no roof issues and now all of a sudden we're like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Does that help expedite the best grant process? I mean, do we get to a stage where it's a critical need? Because I think we've surpassed that stage.
it's definitely something I'm gonna discuss, whenever I present the best getting grants on Thursday.
This Thursday.
Yes. Yeah,
Scary.
yeah, it's this Thursday.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it is something I'm going to, present with. As a matter of fact, that's what I want to do today. I was trying to find a plastic bottle somewhere where I could capture some of that water and just have it as part of my presentation and go, this is what my people, was dealing with last week.
Have we,
Just fill some up with Nebraska.
have we brought anybody in from the health departments? And I dare to say it out loud. If the false ceiling is in fact covering up some of the asbestos stuff, those tiles are now exposed and it's dripping all over our students and our staff and the floor and our equipment. And at what point does that become a huge health concern?
Prior to me being here, I'm not sure if we have brought in, since I've been here, I don't think we have brought in anyone from the health department. Seems like it might be a great opportunity to do that.
I mean, that's a double-edged sword, because we don't know what they're gonna tell us, and we hope that they give us an opportunity to keep the school open and fix the roof, but I was recently in the building before the rain, and I took a stroll around the hallways, and it is becoming a very dire situation that we are in.
Yeah.
Good luck on Thursday.
Thank you.
No pressure.
Come visit us on a day of rain. Do we have anything else for the operations update? All right. Ms. Nelson. Financial update.
Financial update, on the audit process, Dimitri our auditor came to the office on last week and met with Shay and myself. And he said he should have the 22-23 single audit completed quickly. I'm hoping by the end of the week. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. He also said he's working on our 23-24 audit, and he is giving us roughly a month is what he thinks he'll have that done. And then I can submit it to the state auditor and they will release our taxes.
And then we're all caught up.
And then we will be all caught up. Yes.
That was a long road.
Yeah.
Good job,
So,
Heather.
but I will keep you updated as he sends me any more information on that. And of course, when it's completed, I will let you know that too. Like Amanda had mentioned earlier, the summer food service, we have submitted our application for that. It was returned for a couple corrections and we will resubmit that for our funding for the summer food service program. What else? Abacus has finished cleaning up our accounts in SDS. We went from about 64 to 65 pages of account numbers to 29 pages. So, I mean, has been a complete different world in SDS for us now.
That was fast, huh?
Oh, yeah. She spent 12 hours, she said, working on it.
Wow.
And she couldn't stop because if she stopped and we happened to go in there to do any work, then it set her back even farther. So she had to, when she started, she had to go until she completed it. And so she worked straight 12 hours getting those cleaned up. So, which makes life easier for Shay and I in coding. It makes life easier for our bookkeepers in each of the schools. And even just submitting like the audit through the pipeline for CD makes everything a lot easier. And she also balanced our general fund. So our reconciliations should go so much quicker now. All of the accounts were balanced except that one. And the accounts payable one is now finally balanced. And I'm excited to do April's. Last week, Jared, Richie, Shay, and myself also met with Kim from Abacus and Sarah. And we went over the budget, line for line, pretty much. And at the same time, that day, the state funding had been approved. And she said we were pretty well aligned. Everything was aligning well with the budget and the numbers. So that was a good way to end last week. So other than that, they did complete the budget as you've seen, and I'll talk about a little later, but we do have that budget started and in SDS. We've been busy cleaning up and getting ready for the new year. Perfect.
How often do we prepare financial statements?
That is good. Quarterly, I have been doing them quarterly. She is still working on the one that she was going to have me present today or tonight. She was working on getting the budget done first. But I will get with her tomorrow.
So those are quarterly?
But she said we could do them monthly once she gets the reports created in SDS, and we can do it monthly too.
One time we did.
Monthly. And that is probably easier. It's a quicker report to give from month to month.
I'd like.
Yeah. And
That was one thing in the Abacus, but then she showed some of the things she did within this SDS system is just some of the reports that can be run fairly instantly or in there. So that would be very simple to run a monthly report. That'd be great.
So I will email her tomorrow.
Cool.
And ask her to, and she may already be doing it, just hasn't contacted me, but I'll tell her that we would like them monthly.
That'd be great.
Other than that, that's about what's been happening in the financial department.
All right. Any questions? Thank you, Heather.
So,
All right, moving on to the Chief Academic Officer update.
So I kind of touched base a little bit, just a few minutes ago. The best grant interview is going to be this Thursday. I've seen a couple of different timelines. It seems like the turnaround to whether or not we're going to know is pretty short. Should be, I don't think it's instant, but it's going to be pretty close to that on whether we're successful or not. As soon as I have any information like that, we'll make sure we get it to everybody that we can present on that next board meeting. I'm feeling pretty good for it, but again, it's up in the air. I've done a lot of research where just looking at kind of like you said, that critical need and seeing where we fall and seeing everything that I can do to justify putting us in that highest need category. I can't thank enough to some of the surrounding superintendents, everyone that I've kind of reached out to and said, hey, I've seen that your school has gotten this. What can I steal from you? What can you offer me? And I've done that with quite a bit of different districts and talked to a couple of different leaders that have been through that process, worked on that. It's really shaped what I'm preparing for Thursday. I feel great about that. When I look at kind of the different entities that we're working with, I don't have a ton of updates. I know TNTP, like we spoke last board meeting, I have meetings coming up with them on the 28th, and then we have our June conferencing with them. We'll go a week, spend it in, I believe it's Denver, and then UVA is in July. So we'll have those. SCAP is actually kind of the same exact time in June as that first week of June. I've been communicating with leaders of SCAP. They know that we had kind of been on the fence whether we were staying in, not staying in. I think that It's good to kind of open up that discussion from our school leaders, make sure that we're getting what we want out of SCAP. Community, see if it's gonna be as beneficial as possible. What I've been doing is keeping that door open, making sure that we're communicating with them. I know right now we're kind of in the phase of looking at all of the SCAP opportunities that are gonna be available as far as going to schools next year and trying to strategically plan so that you know, we're not sending groups over to Durango. You know, where we can send them towards a little bit more cost effective, time effective, so that we can be intentional, but also not pull some more resources in our people.
What's a, I know, I'm sorry, to interrupt, but what's the timeline for making the decision whether we're staying or going?
I think
How does that work?
as far as planning, for them, I think that they would like to know by that June meeting, whether that we are in or out.
Are they still planning on doing a redo of our most recent one?
Yeah, I believe so. I think either way that we'll be able to work that out. It'll kind of just depend how we negotiate that out. I know that that's where we left it, that they were gonna come and do that today, but that was also when we were fully on board with everything. And again, I think there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons. I just would like the opportunity to pick some more people's brains besides myself and see maybe what I'm not seeing or what I might not know, and kind of go from there, make the best decision.
Did we rely upon or any of our state board hearings on SCAP findings or SCAP participation or anything along those lines?
I do feel like that it was contributed, and if anyone has anything else specific that they want to look at, I think it did contribute. It wasn't like a sole piece of it, but it does contribute. I mean, as we talk about needing to improve our academics, that's part of what SCAP comes in and watches. They see, you know, are our online systems all aligned, or is your community and your culture aligned to allow kids to learn? So it's not necessarily that we have SCAP labeled in our presentation, but a lot of what SCAP looks at allows us to collect data that will in turn let us identify whether or not we're meeting the goals that we're looking to. If that makes sense.
It does make sense. Do you think it's an integral part of keeping that in place so we can properly use it to help restructure the framework that we're undergoing as a district?
I think it can be. I think any piece of data that we can collect is useful. Right now, it's just weighing the cognitive tax that it's putting on the leaders and people and deciding if that data is going to be good enough or not. You know,
Okay.
it's kind of, and that's where, you know, I look to look at my leaders, like I want to trust in them on whether they're able to take that data and use it and make it meaningful, or if it feels like it's another thing.
Okay, that makes sense.
I just want to make sure that I'm making the best decision there.
Okay.
Yeah, and then, other than that, we have summer coming up, summer programming, we're gonna put a higher emphasis on curriculum mapping. Breaking down the new curriculum that's coming in, looking at, we're prioritizing ELA and, math. And kind of looking at how these programs are aligned, how we're looking at them for the full school year next year. Kind of identifying whether there may be gaps, whether there's not gaps, when we're gonna, kind of do our interim assessments and things of that nature. And be as intentional as we can be with our professional development for this summer.
Did I hear Amanda correctly? We're not doing summer school?
Yes, we are looking at some back to school events, some like kickoff events, but not doing a traditional summer school program. But replacing that with this curriculum mapping. I know within our secondary level, we're still talking about doing some enrichment programs as well as credit recovery opportunities for them. But that summer school program is going to look different. One thing that I've been working with, talking to BOCES and some of the community opportunities for what we can do to support kiddos, so that we're not just pulling everything. I want to be able to give them as many opportunities, even if it's not coming from us, but helping share that information so that they can take advantage of those resources.
Are you guys doing the Tiger Tots program?
We are, that is still on our plate for doing. I know right now, with some of the changing in ESSER funds, looking at where that money is coming from, has kind of been my biggest struggle. But when meeting with Mrs. Miller, it seems like that's a huge want from our community, and so we don't want to pull that. I want to see how we can provide that to students.
I know at one time there was some talk about. How long have we been on turnaround in this building? 7 years?
I think so, and if I'm correct, it was like there was some on, one off, some on.
Like intermittently 7 years?
Yeah.
Has anybody looked at the data correlation between when we went to a 4-day school week and being on turnaround for almost every single year that we've been on a 4-day school week?
You know, it's not something that I pulled, I'm sure it's something that we can. I think it's one of those things that, we can definitely look at data and see if it's a correlation, you know.
Well, COVID right in the middle certainly didn't help everybody. I'm well aware of that,
Oh,
but.
and right, and that's the piece that as we look at this, that I think you could look at data and say, okay, we went to a 4-day school week, we've also been struggling it. But doesn't necessarily meet hand to hand, you know, just because it's there doesn't mean that it's connected. And so, but I mean, there's other statistics and data that we can pull as we continue to look at that. I do think that, you know, even when you look at curriculums, there's a lot of curriculums that are all mapped out for a 5-day school week. So as we look at this math curriculum, we're gonna have to look at condensing and prioritizing what we want to have just because of the amount of days that we have in the instructional minutes. And so I do think that that's something to look at. As I kind of just looked out into the world and kind of read different articles, I think that there's a lot of people that are, you know, a lot of 7 points for 4 weeks was the saving of facilities, the opportunity to give teachers to meet with doctors, things like that outside on those Fridays, opportunities for professional development. I don't know if those are still the same needs. And you know, I think it's one of those things that now daycare has become a little bit more difficult for people. I think a lot of doctor offices don't do the Fridays. I think there's a lot of people that have all shifted to that kind of 4-10 work schedule that, you know, I'm not sure. I think it would be something that we could look at, you know, and really speak to our community and see if that's something that they want to change.
I'm not saying that. Don't look at me.
Yeah,
like that.
I'm
not
saying that very,
that.
I'm saying that very openly that.
I'm just looking at the data. That's all.
Yes. You know, I would be very interested to see what happens.
I looked in the room, they're all like.
And I felt it, I was looking this way, I did feel it.
I'm not suggesting that. It's almost done. Hang in there.
But, so yeah, like I said, it's something that we could definitely look at, but there's gonna be so many pros and cons both ways.
And certainly we could. That need your attention. So just put it in the back of your mind. I know there was some talk, not from me, about maybe looking back at a 5-day school week. I mean, because some of those perks that were initially intended to be a great perk for our teachers, when every district goes to that model, you no longer get that little shiny, I got into the doctor on Friday because everybody has Friday off. So you're still competing for that slot. Just looking at some things like that. I know I sat in a meeting where that was a discussion, so.
Yeah.
Causing people.
Comments in the gallery.
Jen, did you have something?
Yeah, so if we are gonna look at that data, I would suggest looking at when they change from TCAP to CMAT, to PARC, then to CMAS, because all of that would fall triggered into that same time frame when we did the.
Seems like a lot of moving parts. Lots of data.
Anything else to share? Any other questions? All right, we're hanging in there and we're just chugging right along. New business, item 8. Presentation of the 25-26 prelim budget.
This is the new budget that Abacus has created in STS. And I feel it's easier to read and understand. I feel it's pretty self-explanatory when you're looking at it for the most part. And just so, before we start with it, just so we know, this is still a working document. Changes still may be coming until we do the adopted budget in June. And then even after that, we'll have changes once October count rolls around and things like that until January. So this could still be changing here and there. Um. But this is, she has put a couple different columns in the middle, as you can see, the proposed 26 fiscal year 26 budget is the first column. The second one is currently what we've done from July 1 until March 31st, or maybe she has made it May 5th or May 8th, whenever she created the budget. Then there's the fiscal year 25's budget column, and then fiscal year 24's budget column. From there on, it is broke down by each account number and each department, such as the 10s are all the general fund, 21s are the food service, 22 are the grants, 31 is the bond. I might have missed a few couple in there, but 18 is insurance, 19 preschool, and 43 capital. And it should, after each section, I would say, there's a total of revenues and then a total of expenses. So if we look at our first, if we're looking in the general fund with the 10s, now on page 2, you have a total of the revenues that are, sorry, there's another 15,985. And then when we go to the bottom of our expenses, which is page 3. Page 24, it will show that we have a total of expenses of 16.008. But those are where changes will be coming in as we're working on it between now and next month.
So state revenue locked in.
Correct. Yep, yep. And then each fund will be pretty well broke down that way. The next one is the 18s, which is insurance. Roughly that's what we're guessing since it, or since it is, and the expenses will be. Of course, if we have anything, an insurance claim or something like that, that might change it a little bit, but we can't ever have to meet our deductible, but we don't know if that will or won't happen. Preschool, there is 20,000 in there, but we're not sure on that, if that will happen depending on how preschool revenue goes.
That's state. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
21 is food service. That is both our claims for food, our reimbursements from that. And let me know if I'm going too fast through it or if you have any questions. 22s are the grants, and they are basically in and out. This is what we've projected for the revenue, and our expenses should equal that at the end of the fiscal year. So that's a pretty in and out counts.
Some of the things that we can expect to change. I don't even know what page I'm on. I'm on page 24 or 45. It says activity, gas and oil. The 24 budget was 12.5, 25 budget was,
What did you, 24 you said?
yeah. And then budgeted for 26 is 0. So those numbers, I assume, are going to be updated where we've always budgeted high amounts. Those,
Right.
those will come, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah.
So in a lot, just in a lot of the whole document, a lot of the in the 26 budget where there are zeros, that's just
Still
to come.
filled.
Right.
Yes, yes, and that will reflect more in June.
So this is just the prelim. We will go further in depth in that one.
Next month.
No,
Because after we do this, then we have a 10-day till, is it? Oh, we'll put it out tomorrow?
Yeah, we'll do the legal notice, I'll send to the papers tomorrow. Have it published 2 to 3 times, but if anybody wants to come in the office and see the budget, yeah.
And then in the June meeting, we'll have a public hearing.
But this is giving you an idea of where we're going, in what direction we're going.
So in the grant section,
Mhm.
so a lot of those in the 26 budget where there is zeros, does that just mean we don't have that grant, or we don't have that grant, is what that means?
Or we might not know what the grant is gonna be for, you know, it could be, maybe it was $1,000 that we got this year, maybe next year it's going to be.
Well,
Yes,
we
there
get
you
into
go,
this.
there you go.
Okay.
And we will know those as funding goes to, and as we get into the year, so that we can fill those figures in.
Okay,
Or it may be a grant that we don't have for next year too.
any other questions?
Yeah, I just have two more things, sorry.
You're okay.
Could you, the Sonicers, walk me through I guess it's on page 1. On the revenue, the local, you can just walk me through the local.
So the
sources.
property tax,
Yeah,
those
the
first,
no.
the first 3 that are out there is our property tax, our specific tax, and our penalties and interest on the tax. So when we get those from the county every month, that is how they're broken into those 3 categories. And that's how I code them into, so we will know we're getting 2.673 of property tax. And then we will have 371 of specific ownership. And 10,000 roughly, which will give and take on the interest part of that. And that equals what our property taxes altogether.
And then on the health grant revenue, what is that?
That is, and Jen just left. Haley can kind of give a little bit.
Yeah, the school health professional grant through BOCES has helped us pay for a lot of our SEL curriculum, resources, various different things. Each building each year is allotted a amount that we can spend. We purchase through the district what falls into that category, has to be approved by BOCES before we can purchase, and then it's a reimbursement. BOCES will reimburse the money through the amount that we were allotted.
Yes.
Is that 3-year grant you were telling us about?
Different than COMTSS that I presented about, this one is focused more on, SEL and that things of that nature. We purchased stuff for our, sensory room at the primary school. The Speak Life and Bullying curriculum that our junior high is working on, weekly, various presenters over the years, just collecting data on our tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, mental health supports, social emotional learning, different things like that.
Okay. Sorry.
Apologizing, just ask.
At some point, this is great, and this is a lot of work. At some point, can we get a budget for like by department? Like transportation, maintenance, and by building, is that, I couldn't figure that out.
And it is tricky. The second set of numbers is how it's broke down. So if you had like 10-650, that's central office. The 650 part is the central office. But I can have her create it to where it's broke down, yeah.
Or at least if we can get an explanation of
Of
what the
they are.
numbers mean, so we can.
Yeah. We can do that. It is, because you're seeing these account numbers and you
Yeah, I'm
have
like, I
no
don't know
idea
what
where
that
they're.
Remember, I thought like line numbers like that.
Then I figured there's just like copiers, so each one of those
Is
copies
hitting
is
into the
related
correct-
to a bill.
Like what? 10-111 is intermediate. So when it's 111, the copiers are here at this building. When it's 112, it's the primary school. 502 is the high school. 509 is TTH.
Okay,
We would have never knew that.
thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, moving on, item B.
Make the recommendation to approve the revised exhibit JQE on the first revised and final reading.
Make a motion to approve the revised exhibit JQ-E on first reading.
Second,
I have a motion to approve exhibit JQ-E. Is it on the first revised and final reading, Jill?
Yes.
Do you want to amend your motion? Because you just said first reading.
First and final.
Still seconding?
second, yes.
Great. All right, there was a motion and a second, and I think we're all good there. Does anybody have any questions or comments? This is just increasing the fees appropriately.
Correct.
Okay.
And the theater one is a new one, is that right?
This is, yeah.
Yeah.
There used to be a drama for the class itself, and that got confused with the drama team, so they created the drama.
All right. No questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. Hines,
Aye.
Mr. Colovitz,
Aye.
All right, item C. Classified staff employment resolutions for the 25-26 school year.
I will make a recommendation to approve classified staff employment renewals for 25, which includes a critical shortage as well as the list of classified staff.
so moved.
Second,
We have a motion and a second to approve the classified staff employment resolutions for 25-26 as well as the critical shortage. Questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mrs. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. Hines, aye, Mr. Colovitz,
aye.
All right, item D. Well,
And I do recommend approval for the 25-26 Chartwell renewal.
Make a motion to approve 25-26 Chartwell's renewal.
Second,
we have a motion and a second to approve the 25-26 Chartwell's renewal. Questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mrs. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. Hines, aye, Mr. Colovitz,
aye.
All right. Item E.
And lastly, I do make the recommendation to approve the annual renewal of Infinite Campus, our student data information system. The amount of $33,668.
Make a motion to approve the renewal of Internet Campus in the amount of $33,600.
Second,
I have a motion and a second to approve the annual renewal of Infinite Campus in the amount of $33,668. Questions or comments?
Do you know how much we paid last year? If there was an increase in that?
Good question. I do not know that off the top.
I think
of
a safe
my
bet to say is yes, there probably was, but I'm not
it,
sure.
it went up minimally, see if I can find it.
While you're looking for that, Jill, I know we had talked about potentially doing a different program. Am I mistaken?
Yes. I believe that came up at one point in time, but I don't believe it went any further.
Okay.
So,
Last year, the renewal amount was $33,208.
$460. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mrs. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. Hines, aye, Mr. Colovitz,
aye.
Made it. Board comments. Have any?
Reeling into summer was last Friday. Want to say thank you to the staff who put that together and who worked it. Sounds like it was a lot of fun. My kids had a blast.
And it looked like there's some pretty cool stuff that the kids got to do and take home, so. Kudos to all the people involved in that.
Couple. Congratulations to the seniors that will be graduating on Sunday. I want to thank Heather, Richie, Jared for stepping up and taking on extra responsibilities. And so what I'm gonna say is just my opinion, and it's not a reflection on the great job you guys are doing. My opinion, we need to start a search for a superintendent as soon as possible. And I believe, this is just my opinion, that we need to search for a interim superintendent as we search for a permanent superintendent. And again, it's not a reflection on anything you guys are doing. You guys have your plates completely full. In addition to what we're asking you to do, and I just think that's my personal opinion. I think we need to leave one sole leader as soon as we can.
I would like to say that I had someone approach me in the community about music at the younger levels. It is starting to have a significant impact on the number of children in theater and drama at all levels. This children's theater that's happening this summer, my kids have 3 roles apiece because they don't have enough children auditioning for these shows to fill out the show in its entirety. So I just want to bring that to mind. I know it's not us. If we had somebody applying, we would hire them, right, Don? Right. So I know that it's just a rural thing and we're not at the top of everybody's bingo card, unfortunately, but encouraging people and our students to get involved in that secondary theater piece is important. It really, I can't tell you how much it's benefited my children participating in theater. Just being open to talking to adults and speaking in public and really carrying themselves like they've held a conversation in their life is amazing. So I just wanted to share that with my fellow board members that I did receive that from someone in the public. I'd also like to say congratulations to our senior class of 2025 and all 3 of you, good job. Thank you. Thank you for your work. Teachers, we're almost there. I think of you every day. I send my kids to school. You're almost there. Hang on. Hang on. Thank you for your work. We appreciate you. Anything further?